This video will walk you through how to create a reservation, how to mark a client present, and how to check that your reservation was created correctly. If you are enrolling a client in a shelter program, a program where the client will be staying overnight at a shelter, then once you're done enrolling them, you will need to go ahead and create a reservation for them at that shelter. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the client using the first three letters of their first name and the first three letters of their last name. If they weren't in the system, I would go ahead and add a new client, but they are here, so I'm going to click on their name to pull up their profile. I'm going to enroll a client in a program just like I would normally. Because this is a shelter program that I'm enrolling the client in, after I enroll the client, I'm going to go ahead and make a reservation. If you need a reminder on how to enroll a client in a program, you can go ahead and watch our video on that. I'm going to go ahead and fill out the program enrollment page just like I would normally. The program enrollment page will look a little bit different for each agency and each program, so just go ahead and fill it out like you've been trained to do for your program. After I fill out the program enrollment page, the client is now enrolled in the program. If I had any program household members that were enrolled in the program with the client, they would show up here under program group members. If you need a reminder on how to enroll or set up a household for a client, go ahead and watch our videos on household management or program enrollment. So now that my client is enrolled in this shelter program, I'm using the cold weather shelter as an example. I'm going to go ahead and set up a reservation for the client at this shelter. So I'll go up here, click on the waffle, and then click on attendance. I'm going to find the shelter that their program is for and click on reservation. This brings up a list of all of the beds in that shelter. This layout of beds will look different for each shelter, but each of these boxes represents one bed slot. So I'm going to choose one of these bed slots to reserve for the client. First, I want to make sure I have the date correct. They're going to be staying here on this night, so May 17th, 2022. If I needed to select a different date for the reservation, I would change the date here. You can also see the date is changing at the top. So I'm going to go back to May 17th, and I'm going to select Mat 1 to reserve for my client, Big Bird. That pulls up this Make a Reservation pane. Then I search for the client. I'm going to type in the first three letters of the client's first name and the first three letters of their last name to search for them. That finds the client in the system, so I will select them. Now I'm going to preview the reservation to double check that everything is correct. They are reserved for May 17th, Mat 1. So now I need to click confirm. And that reserves this spot for Big Bird. This doesn't mean that Big Bird showed up and used this slot. It just means that it's reserved on this night for Big Bird. And that is how you create a reservation. It is necessary to create a reservation for a client after you enroll them in a program for a shelter. If you are enrolling a client in a shelter program, the next step is to create a reservation for them, just like we have done here. I can mark the client present from this page. If they showed up at the shelter, I would mark them present. The color turns orange, that indicates that they were present in the shelter on this night. They slept in Mat 1 in this shelter on this night. If they don't show up to the shelter, you can click on No Show. Then the color turns red, and that indicates that they did not show up on this night for their reservation in this bed. Now, if we made a mistake and we click the wrong button, all we have to do is click the trash can next to make a reservation or over here by their name, and that will undo the no-show or the present. So I'm going to click the trash can, and you can see it takes away the no-show and it takes it back to the status of just being reserved. So I can go back and check present if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now they are present. Another thing that you should know is that making a reservation in a bed does not assign the service to them in the system. They have to actually be counted present on that night to have a service marked on their chart. So we can check this by going back and looking at Big Bird's services. Big Bird is enrolled in the shelter program, and Big Bird has a reservation for shelter service. If we go look at services, we don't see that he has any service history. If we go to history, we can see that he has a reservation, but not a shelter stay. This yellow bar is a program. He is active in the shelter program, but he does not have the white service bar that would indicate a shelter stay. Now let's go ahead and mark Big Bird present in his shelter reservation, and we'll see that it marks a service on his history. So I'm going to go back to attendance. I'm going to go to reservation. I'm going to find Big Bird's reservation on this date in this room, and I'm going to mark Big Bird present. Now I'm going to go back to Big Bird's profile page. I'm going to click on history, and now we see that Big Bird has a shelter stay service marked in their history. They have been assigned this service and it is being tracked. We can still see the reservation that they had. That's in pink. Reservations are in pink, services are white, and program enrollments are yellow. And those are all tracked differently in the system. So if you have a client that is staying in a shelter program, they will have the program enrollment, they will have the reservation, and then when they show up for their reservation, they will have the service being tracked.